Hi, and welcome to the Trucking Scribe. It's Esther. I've been working on some videos for the Master Hand Knitting Level 1 certification. Now, I am learning, so all this on there is that I'm putting on here. Definitely go and check it out, verify the information, although I have went in research, but it still may not be right because I haven't passed level 1 yet. I'm working on level 1. So today we did the swatch last week. Today we're going to measure it before it's blocked. We're going to block it. I'll show you how to block it. And then we're going to measure it again after it's flat like this. So I hope you enjoy the video. But first we need to measure it pre-blocking. I have this that is with the hand knitting program, and it gives you how to do some measuring. So what I've done, I have measured other stuff, but I put it over here, needle size, right here, width, the number of stitches, divide stitches by the width, times 4, and this would give you your number down here. I also did it for blocked. What we're going to need to go along with that is a pair of scissors, a pen, a needle of some kind. This is an embroidery yarn needle, a ruler. I'm using this styrofoam piece. It's got the grid line on it, but you could use this too and just draw you a straight line and all if you want to do it that way. You will need some T-pins. These are non-rusting pins. And your swatch. Let's see, one more thing. We need some scrap yarn that's different color from what we're working with, because we're going to put in markers for where we're going to measure. So I just pull it through. I don't need a great big piece. We'll come down here. Right here, can you see right there is the first, almost, it's not quite the first row, but we can maybe get down to here. I just like to start right in here, putting it in there because that's a more even spot. Okay. So we're going to do that one, and we're going to go all the way up here, and we're going to do the same thing on that last bind off stitch. We're going under it, and this is just going to mark where we're going to measure. You can see I'm trying to keep a little extra on here. So then you're going to come over here, and this first stitch is a wonky stitch. So you want to omit it. I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to do the same thing. So this and this is one side of my stitch, this is the other. The needle's going straight down the middle of the stitch. And this will be important when we get to the measuring part. For me to thread this yarn, I have to fold it and kind of pinch it a little bit. It's not like regular thread, and then put it through. So I'm going to do this on all 3 layers. I'm going to skip this first stitch. I'm going to go in the middle of that second stitch and pull my yarn through. So we don't need a whole lot, just enough to measure. Do the same thing on this one. So here's that first one. I'm going to go through the second one. Now, I do want to say that I am learning. I am not a master hand knitter or even a definite professional knitter. I love to knit. I love to research. So I do go and I'm working on the master hand knitting level 1. So don't use my work as references. Go and find people like Suzanne Bryan Arienda holiday. If you're part of the TKG Knitting Association Guild, I think it's the TKG Knitting Association. So see here, I'm fixing to put this. Actually, see how that's rolling out? That's still part of my piece, and that's that one half a stitch that's not working, and I'm going to go right here. But if you are a member of the TKGA, and I'll leave a link below, it was, I want to say $25, but I'm not sure now how much it was because I've had too many numbers in my brain. So I'm going to skip this one and I'm going to go right there. But definitely go over there and sign up, and you can get all the past publications of Cast On Magazine. What I'm doing now is, see how it's rolling up? To measure it, I need it to be kind of flatter, and I'm not pulling it or anything, I'm just tacking it down so I can get a little bit of a flat edge. And I'm not going through the yarn, I'm going through that little stitch right here. So this is your first measurement before you block it, and it's interesting because when you block it, it will flatten out. So this is the same yarn. I just used the Haya needle. So these are Chagoo needles that I used. Like I said, I'm not pulling this real tight. I'm just gonna, I do need to measure for my gauge. And I have several over here that I had blocked before I realized I needed this measurement, which is okay. I already knew I probably wouldn't use that yarn. But I'll show you in a moment. I've tried all kinds of yarns and needles to figure out where my gauge is. So this just feels like it's, there we go, maybe that's better. I'm just putting one here to hold that out of my way. So you see it's not pulled. You don't see it moving at all when I pull the needles out. It may pop up a little bit. So what I'm going to do, let's see if I can get this in here. I'm going to write, so I've got all my information right here. I've got today's date, which for me is important. The yarn Cascade 220, I get the color. On Chagoo needle 678, and they're 4-inch needles. Now, for me, this is very important. If I am doing continental, if I hold the yarn in my left hand, I am using the 4-inch. If I'm holding the yarn in my right hand, then I'd use the 5-inch because it makes a difference from my stitch gauge. So I'm going to put this, and I'm going to go ahead and put it down here too. So we want to do the width, and what we're looking at now, give me a pokey tool so you can see what I'm talking about. So I showed you earlier how this has that half a stitch to a stitch right there that we're not counting, we're going into here. So a stitch is right here. So that is one stitch between my fingers. And I'm going to try and get a video. I've got to figure out how to do it and show you the anatomy of stitches and all. But that's in the future. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure from here, which is, you can see this is coming out the middle of that stitch. We do not want to measure any of this that's over to my left. So from here, we're not measuring this or this. Same thing over here. When we come over here, here's where the stitch that is our throwaway yarn kind of thing. So we're going to start measuring right here to right here. So we're going to skip one leg, and then that starts our first stitch. Now, they do have plastic rulers, fabric rulers, and all different kinds, and I mean the tape rulers. When I say plastic, it's similar to the fabric. But these kind, the metal or plastic, the metal or even this kind of plastic, so there's a difference, are good to use to measure this because they don't stretch out. So what I'm doing, let's see right here, pull those out. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to put my 0. So that starts the first stitch. And over here, okay, so then this one, that piece right there goes with the thing. So we're going to go from here to here. So we're not counting this stitch right, the half a stitch that touches the yarn. So I'm going to say 4 1/4. So yeah, 4 1/4 on the lower one. So what I'm doing is I'm just filling in my information. So 4 1/4. And then I'm going to stick this back in here so I can count. So when I count, I do use my fingers. This is 1, 2, 3. So what I'm doing is I am putting this in the middle of the stitch. And then when I move my finger and put my fingernail in the middle of the stitch, then I'm jumping 2 more legs. So right here would be the next one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. See, your eyes will run together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So right here we're back here. So my 20 ends right here. Stick this in there where it ends, because what's happening is I'm getting a half a stitch, looks like. Yeah. So what's going on now is this is the, well, wait a minute. That'll be 21. Let me count again. 20. So yeah, 20. This would be 20. So that still leaves me, I'm in the middle of 20 right now. So right here, right there would be 21. But remember, we weren't counting this stitch right here because it's right beside that and it can change the width. So we're going to do 21 or 20 and a half for that one. And then I can move some of these. Don't need them all. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to measure just the leg past that. So this is our first stitch right here. It starts right here. Over here, our ending is going to be right here. So I got that first leg, right, wait a minute, right here, first leg, because I'm skipping this one. Remember, I'm skipping the one where the yarn is. And then over here, let's see, I'm back up. Here is the stitch I'm skipping, so right here is the end. So right here starts, and I would say 4 3/8. So on this other paper, we do have some measurements here to bring it down. So that would have been 4.375 for that one. Then count again. So this one has 20 and a half also, because we don't count that one. So I put my measuring in there about the right place. So I'm going to take this one out and this one out. And we're going to do the last one the same way. So now when you're measuring length, then you would do the same thing. But right now I'm not going to measure the length. So again, I'm coming to this part, this here goes with that stitch where the yarn is. So we're going to start with our measurement right there. So put my 0 right there. Over here, we're going to start, here's the stitch that we're using to mark, and there's the leg. So we're going to start right here. So when you come down, that is 4 6/8, what I'm going to say. Yeah, 4 6/8. We have a 6/8. Or is that 4 and, wait a minute, here's half, 5/8. Okay, 6/8 is, so 4 and 5/8. And I can look at this, these numbers they give me right here. 5/8 equals 0.625. And then we're going to count them, and remember I'm going to start, this is the first stitch right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're getting 20 and a half again, because right here where my marker is, this is 20 stitches. So we're not counting this particular leg, but we want to count this leg, because that is 20 and a half. That's half a stitch, and it does make a difference when you're measuring. So I'm going to take these out. We're going to put these back in a few minutes. Well, so I did want to show you the difference. I have quite a few samples over here. So that is the same as this one. See how it's laid flat out? This one is Peyton's on a 7, 8, 9. See how much wider it is? But these two are the same needles, different yarn. This one is a gizmo yarn. You can see it's shorter than this. It's on the same needles. These three were done on the same needles, but there's that much difference between needles and yarn. So that's why it's so important to check gauge. So there are different kinds of ways to do blocking. And before you get started with this program, you're supposed to do the blocking report. I've looked at some of it. I just haven't wrote it up yet. I do want to do just a video on the blocking report of what each individual fibers use. So this is actually merino wool. It will felt. It's not superwash. Superwash, you can kind of wash it and agitate it more. But if you agitate this, rub it, and while it's wet and stuff, it will felt together. But the water, you can see these curls, the water helps it to relax like your hair. But yeah, so this is what it looks like. Before we get started, I'm going to leave these in. Now, over here, I used the red ones, and what I did, this was afterwards. I would not have used red on white to measure because that could bleed when you put it in the water. But since I blocked these before I measured and wasn't reading directions good, it lets me show you an example. So we got these in. All we're going to do is take our little thing. I kind of fold mine up a little bit. Now, one other thing before I get too far that I like to do is if I see any areas that look like they might be gutters, I'll try and just gently pull them up. Okay, well, there's still more. It's not too bad, and it should settle down some once we wet it. So we're going to fold it, and I just fold mine in little fours and stick it in the water. This water is warm. See, I'm not squishing it around. I'm just trying to hold it to get the water in the fibers. There's some bubbles coming out. So the bubbles are not going to hurt anything. They need to come out so the water can get in there. See how I'm just holding it for a few seconds just to get it in there and get some of that air out so the water can get to the fabric, to the yarn. So now I'm going to let this sit over here for 20-30 minutes while we do our math problems. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to put this in here too so that I have all these numbers, because it's important on which one I did and all that. Let me see. I don't do math in my head no more. So I'm going to take for each one, let's see, we're just going to be using those numbers. Each row belongs to one needle. So we're going to take the 20 and a half. Wait a minute. See, this is not supposed to be there, so I'm going to scratch it out. So put in 20.5, hit the division symbol, 425. And actually what you could do if you wanted to, and this to me I think is going to help my eyes, then I know that's the stitch size. So we got 20 and a half divided by 4.25. So it's going to be 4.8. And I'm not going to round anything off. I'm going to use this big long number that's in here. This says multiply by 4. So 4 inches, and round up or down, multiply it times 4. That gives us our stitch gauge across a larger swatch. So you're measuring from here to here instead of just a tiny inch. You're getting more and dividing it. It really helps. So then we're going to take 20 and a half, 0.5 divided by 4.375. 375 equals 4685. And I just write what I can in here. And then again, we're going to times 4. That's why this is here. Times 4. Because 18.74. And I'm going to write that down. 18.74. 2. And I write those down so I can decide which way I want to round up or down if I need to. So then 20 and a half divided by 4.625. So that's 4.43 times 4. 17, 729. So right now this is not telling us what gauge needle we need to use. We're going to wait till the blocking because it grows. It flattens out and it gets really nice. So this is just our preliminary swatch, and these are the numbers I came up with. So just like we left it, I'm going to gently, and if it's bigger, I'm going to reach my hands under. So let's say this is the sweater under there. I'll put my hands under here and try and fold it up on itself so that it's not pulling. So see there, it's got more structure. I hope you can see. Whereas if I picked it up here, see the difference? It just puts a lot of weight on those stitches. So if you just kind of fold it up, pick it up out of your water, and say this is our towel. We're putting a towel on the towel. So what I do, like I said, I roll mine up some. Now with the sweater, and I should have took a video yesterday, I put mine in my washing machine in the rinse cycle. Not the agitate, just the put the water in. I put my sweater in, let it sit for 20-30 minutes, and then I spin it. But mine is an old washing machine, so it spins. It doesn't agitate like some of the other ones. So what you're going to do, you can go ahead and squeeze this a little bit with this. You can gently pull it out. And you can roll your towel like this. It'll help to get that water out. So when you put it in the washing machine for it to spin dry or spin out, it actually comes out a lot drier than what this will come out with if you're using towels. But you can use the towels for your sweaters too. Because I have that old kind of sewing machine, I don't know why I'm thinking sewing machine today, but I have that old wash machine. That's what I use to get mine wet and ready to block. So you can see now it's pretty dry. I'm going to put this out of the way. So this is where this comes back in. Or if you had something like this, you could just take your ruler and a straight edge and make sure that the lines are straight, because you do want to block your work to where it's, so this is the top. We want it to be even with one of these lines all the way across. And when we get down here, if we can do it even, we'd like it there too. So right here, just like I showed you earlier, we're looking for the spot in between that. And I'm lining it up under here with this black line. And I'm coming up to that top edge as much as I can without distorting my, and I probably put too many pins, I don't know, but put a lot of pins in this. Now the sweater I didn't. So when we get right here, got a little bit of a big bind off. I got to go and check out Suzanne Bryan. She's got a good video on how to fix that. Obviously I hadn't watched it in a long time because I don't remember. So, and you kind of want this to be straight. See how I have it more or less at a, this side isn't as much yet, but at a angle, at a square angle. And I'm going to try and find my way in there. So now here is that where it rolled a lot. So you see right here is one stitch right through here. That's that first stitch that's trying to roll on us. So we want to come up here, roll this out if we can, gently, not hard. So now I've got that little piece. I'm kind of holding it under my fingers so it don't go back under. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the next one, is kind of pull it out gently. I started at the top on this one. You can start top or bottom. Not that big of a deal. I don't think. It's where I start. I do start at either the top or bottom, so I have this straight edge. And you can see it's a little off up here, so I'm going to see if I can straighten that out. And just take your fingers and roll that under or out. See how I'm trying to get that straight as possible. Now I do go and finish each side together. I just turn my little piece around and then start pinning. So I'm kind of going right in here, in between that half a stitch. And you can tell the difference already in the feel of the yarn, that it's relaxed a lot, because we had to really fight it to get it out before the water. Okay. So what I am looking for is that these are kind of straight as much as possible. I'm gently kind of moving it. See here, I see this big hole right there. I'm going to see if I can't wiggle that, because once it dries, it's pretty much going to be there until it gets wet again. And then you go to the next section. Now you don't have to do anything here. We're just going to continue on going down. We're not pulling. You don't see any tension. We're just rolling it out from under itself. See, now right here, this is rolled pretty good. I'm having to, so you can stick your needle in here, right in here, and then put it down. That will help if you can't quite get that edge. Now, I know I've said this several times in my videos, and I think I said it in this one, but I'm not sure. I am learning, and I am documenting my learning by doing this video. So while I have gone and looked at the work, or done the research, it could still possibly be wrong. So I definitely encourage you to go and look at the research yourself. So what I'm doing now is these two lines. I'm trying to kind of get that up just a little bit, not a lot. But go do the research and find out from other people. Suzanne Bryan, she is a wonderful teacher. She's the one that I learned most of my knitting from at this point. Her and Arinda Holiday. I hope I'm saying her name right. So they have a course that you can take where they look at this. I'm actually doing it over again. So here's a couple of samples. These are my first 4. They're ready to go. And send to Arinda. Oh, I know I'm saying it so horribly wrong. And she looks at them and gives you feedback. So like this one, maybe she might say, that's a little loose, but then again, maybe not. But here's one and there's one. Those are my increases, and they're kind of big on this one. So I'll probably do this one over again, because that one's definitely big. And then a little tension here. I may have something off on that. So that's why I'm doing the correspondence class. Now, if you've never knitted, they have another class that you can take, I think, for beginner knitters. And I'll link all this in the description below, so you can go over there and look at the website and see what I'm talking about. See, I'm just taking my fingers and kind of rolling this. Now, the other thing you'll notice, if you haven't already, is that the top up here is bigger than the bottom. That's because our needles were much bigger. So what I'm going to do is just let this sit here and dry all by itself. I'm not going to do anything to it. And then we're going to come back and we're going to measure this one. So I'm going to look and see if I might want to put any more pins anywhere. So if you go through the yarn, you're going to mess up your yarn. Try to go in the holes. So I'm looking right here. I don't know if you can see it. I can see a little bit of wiggle, which I know I'm being particular. Right here, this one's really curving for some reason. And that looks better. So I'm going to let this sit here. And we'll come back later and float off the swat, off the pad, and measure it and see what we get, what the difference was between blocked and unblocked. Okay, so we have let this dry. It's really good and dry. I'm going to take my pins out. I need to get some more light over this way. Let me see if I can move around so y'all can have light too. A little closer than usual today. That way you can see a little better. So are y'all about ready for Christmas? I have this. Today is Tuesday. What day is it? 17th. So this will be going up for Thursday. My book over here. So if you remember the other day, well, a few minutes ago for you guys, but we measured this swatch. We left this particular leg. This leg goes with the stitch right here. So our yarn is in the middle of the stitch. So we're going to start counting right here. So this would be one stitch. Then we're going to go over here to this side, same thing. We're going to put this little stitch right here is going to be counted towards the waist stitch, I guess you could call it. So our first stitch would be right there. So what I want to do is to count these. No, I think I'll count them first. 1, I have 20 and a half, and that's what we got yesterday. And I guess, I don't know if I would be measuring before I blocked it in a normal sweater, but I could, then you could kind of tell how much it's going to grow. But I'm recounting these just to make sure, because one stitch or even a half a stitch can make a big difference when you start knitting your sweater or whatever you're knitting. Okay, so I'm going to show you again just in case you didn't quite catch. So this is going to be our first stitch. We're going to put the 0 right there. See how it's going right there past that foot. Then over here, we're going to skip this one. So we're right at 4 1/2. Then we're going to just move up right there to right here, which is 4 3/4. And you can measure several places, so I'll just come up here and see what I'm getting here to remember where I'm at here though. Yeah, 4 1/4. Right there, yeah, it's 4 1/4 too. So I'm going to do the top part. So from right here to right here is 4 7/8. Is what I'm coming up with. And 4 7/8. I don't want to remeasure that just to see. So I did our math here. One could be like 18 stitches to the 4 inches. I'm going to round this one down to 17, and this one I'm going to leave at 17 because it's closer to 17. So if you look, we had 4.25. It grew another quarter of an inch for the 6. Over here we had 437. It grew up to 475, so about 4/10 of an inch. If I'm doing my math right, which I'm probably not. And then here, 4.6, we went up to 4.8, so that was 2/10 of an inch difference of it being blocked. So that means before it's washed in your sweater or whatever you're making, it's going to grow that much. That's why you need these measurements. So this is the other one that I did. Turn around. This one is on the Haya. This one's on the Chagoo. And I'm going to make me some little things. So we got 18 here on this one, 17 on the Haya needles. So that'd be a whole inch for every 4 inches that you did. So 10 inches, if you were doing a 40-inch circumference, you would get 10 inches extra if you swatched on this needle, but then went and used this one. So keep a record, and I'm going to have to write this down. These others have some little tags on that I put on them. So this one's a Cascade 2. This is the white Cascade. Size 7, we got 17 and 16, so another stitch more there. Here it's 2 stitches difference. So that it's just way more different than you think, even with the needles, because the needles have different friction, different smoothness. Your hands hold them different, because I'm holding in my left hand, I have the 4-inch needles. I can't use the bigger ones because they hit my hand right here and I put more tension on the needle. So that messes me up when I'm doing knit and purl once I go stockinette stitch. But if I'm using my left hand, my right hand, I'm using my right hand throwing, I need to use the 5-inch needles, because then I'm holding the needles a different way. I have the yarn over here, so it's not going through this hand. So right here is not the problem. When I have my yarn going through here, this is the way I do it. So anything in this area bugs me. And the 4-inch comes up a little bit higher, but the 5-inch comes down in this way, which interferes with my throwing, with my needle. So usually, I don't have a needle. Pretend this is a needle, I guess. You know, I'm doing this, so I'm going to go in and wrap it around. I do wrap it once around my finger on this side, but not real tight. When I first started, I had this thing wrapped around like that and like that, because most people that I knew, I crocheted for since I was 14, so about 40 years I've been crocheting, and I held the yarn in my left hand. Well, when I started learning to knit, a lot of the people were holding it in the right hand, so I'm like trying that, and it's just not working. Then I did the correspondence class for the basics, and Arienda said to keep working, try different needles, try different yarns, and go back to what I was used to over here and see how that worked. So after I got calmed down and not so stressed out, that's what I do now, which I'll be showing you in upcoming videos. We'll be working on different things. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope it made sense, and leave me a comment what you think, why this one so much is actually bigger than the other one. It still just amazes me. There's that much difference, that much. I can see the looseness too. So this one's gonna be my better bet. But leave me a comment. Let me know if you're working on the Master's Hand Knitting program, Master Hand Knitting certification, and what level you're at if you are, and if you're not, there's going to be a link down below where you can go and find out more information about this and work through it with me. I know we have Carrie left a message last time. She said that she is working on level 1 also. She just started back again like me. So we're kind of working together. But thank you and have a great day.